Welcome back, everyone, to Gacha Interact. Today, we're going to be talking about something that kind of came in not too long ago. The special thing that came in Gacha Gaming. Now, normally, we always go to Gacha Gaming whenever we see the brand new Gacha revenue that's out. But this brand new post came out just a few days ago. It stated that Chinese official media statistics rank Mihoyo as the strongest gaming brand from China and eighth strongest brand overall. So, out of the top 10 here, we see the different ones. Obviously, there are the Chinese or in Mandarin up here. But then as we have translations down here at the bottom. So this is also officially from Genshin Impact, the subreddit. The Chinese official media statistics show MiHoYo's global influence exceeds Tencent. Now, if you guys don't know anything about Tencent, Tencent is also, or was and still is, a very big and strong gaming company as well. Tencent has made a lot of games, helped kind of back a lot of them as well, taken over some, merged with certain companies. So there is, Tencent is a very, very big name when it comes to gaming. And so MiHoYo surpassing them just goes to show a lot of different things. First and foremost, obviously how globally recognized and big Genshin actually is. Never mind its other, other properties. Things like Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, and even Honkai Impact the Third, which came before all three of those gachas as well. So it just goes to show the strength behind MiHoYo as well. But besides that, we have the other kind of things there. So I don't know. It just goes to show a lot of, I guess, people are always going to take this as like a, another data, of content creators glazing Genshin. But it just really goes to show, I guess, how far gachas specifically have come. Back in the day, and even maybe still today, gachas are kind of made fun of to an extent for people kind of just like, always just pulling for your waifus and flushing money down the toilet basically just for XYZ character. But I think this really just goes to show just the strength of the overall, like, I guess, just nice to see kind of idea, maybe, if that makes any sense. But I don't know, Rich, what are your thoughts?
Well, one of my thoughts actually, where you were talking about like why do gotchas get the look that they do in the regular gaming community, and I'm like thinking, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, a lot of these recent sponsors don't really help because if you guys know what I'm talking about, if you know kind of thing. A lot of these recent sponsors have been like, whoa, hey there, that's like borderline, you know what I mean? So once again, if you guys know, you know. But actually, to preface on a little bit more on Tencent and why this is significant, maybe for someone maybe who doesn't know what Tencent is, Vixen, what are some of the main titles that Tencent is directly involved in and maybe indirectly involved in?
Well, Tencent's been obviously around for a while. They're really, really big. Probably the biggest one that a lot of people are probably going to recognize behind are things like PUBG, Honor of Kings. They've even dealt with the mobile game for League of Legends, so Wild Rift. There's been just a lot of, obviously, they're more of a
Yeah.
bigger mobile game company specifically. Even though Riot Games, had originally League of Legends, they for the mobile game specifically, Tencent had a majority stake in them as well. So there's just a lot of, once again, it's one of your bigger, stronger publishers for video games.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that as well, a game we actually play, if I'm not too far off, also is Stranova is at least backed somewhat to an extent, I believe, by as a publisher
Oh,
by
okay.
Tencent as well. So there's just once again a very large list of games that Tencent is backed. A very, very big company as a publisher for video games, but really, that just
Mm-hmm.
goes to show once again how far MiHoYo is. And even considering outside of gaming things, right? If we scroll down a little bit, you're in things like Lenovo, Xiaomi, Huawei, phone companies, TVs, technological like things that everybody's using
Yeah.
all the time. And then MiHoYo and Tencent are there. So already those two being there is pretty big. Oppo as well, ByteDance. There's just a lot of big names here. And it's just cool to see that, MiHoYo, a gaming specific one, and not even a like publisher to an extent, they are more indirectly involved with their specific games as well. So, and then also behind that we have here a posted top 10 list of games as well with Genshin. I'm gonna guess this is all in China as well. Number one is Genshin,
Mm-hmm.
number two is Black Myth Wukong, number three is Mobile Legends, so that is the Mobile Legends Bang Bang. Number four is Honkai Star Rail, number five is Pop Mart, six is Eggy Party, seven is Lord Mobile, eight is Caillou, nine is Rise of Kingdoms, and 10 is Love and Deep Space. So I don't know too much about things like Caillou, Lord Mobile, Eggy Party, Pop Mart, but obviously things like Genshin, obviously we cover. It'd be weird if I didn't. Black Myth Wukong, Very big game, and especially in
Yeah.
China, I know was a very big game. Still was over here. Very, very cool and fun game. Mobile Legends, I actually play myself. Star Rail also play. And then Love and Deep Space, we just kind of have to know about. Everybody knows,
How
as
can you not know about Love and Deep Space?
looking at those
You
revenue
know what I
numbers
mean?
all the time, we kind of
Yeah,
have to know
yeah.
about them. So, and then Rise of Kingdoms, I'm pretty sure everybody's sadly seen 17,000 of their ads. So, I think that
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, it's just cool to see, I guess, once again, just a real reach. And I know a lot of people, Genshin's only been out for 4 or 5 years, but they've been consistent with their updates. They're obviously putting out content like that. So, it's just more or less, a really cool thing to see, especially with gachas, because
Yeah.
maybe even still today, and especially back in the day, gachas were kind of seen as taboo or a weird thing to play. But now it's just kind of something that's just almost normalized, especially in the
Hmm.
East. Maybe not specifically in the West, but it's maybe becoming a little bit more normal to maybe be playing these games as well. So just kind of something interesting that we found the other day specifically as well. So yeah, I don't know. What is there anything else you had to say, Rich? Kind of like the ideas, especially with these games too.
Yeah, I would just have to agree with you that it's just become more popular, all of these gotcha games. And we have, like I mentioned earlier on in the beginning of the video, we see a lot more sponsors for new gotcha games that just kind of pop out of nowhere. And there's a lot of them. And so actually one interesting thing about a new one that's coming out called Silver Palace is on kind of a side tangent, that's a cool game that's actually the same studio and franchise as Tower of Fantasy, I
Mm-hmm.
believe. So even though, and some of you guys may know what Tower of Fantasy is or was, that didn't like blow out of the water all of these other gotchas. It was pretty cool, and I think we tried it out, and it had a novel idea, but it just didn't do what I think most people would want it to have done, and what the dev team for that game would want it to be, to try to rival something like Genshin Impact among others as well. So they tried to do making another game, and this one's called Silver Palace, and maybe you guys have seen that already in the trailer or whatnot. But the point is, gacha gaming, I think, like you said, Vixen, has just become more popular, at least in the East, but even moving over to the West, I feel like it's been seeing a lot more attention. And then you kind of have to look at Genshin Impact. I feel like when you look at the history of gachas, and yes, there are plenty of gachas before 2020, before Genshin Impact, Mihoyo made Honkai Impact third. There were things like Arc Knights, Summoner's War, and the list can go on. There was a lot of gachas still out there, but Genshin Impact, if you just look at the history of it, there was just such a massive spike in popularity for specifically Genshin Impact that even after Genshin Impact, things like Honkai Star Rail, yes, it's the same company, but fast forward all the way to Wuthering Waves, a lot of WoWa players, if we're just being honest, did come from Genshin Impact. That's just how it is because of the popularity that Genshin Impact kind of instituted in just for gacha gaming. So when I think that a new gacha gaming studio or company wants to make a new gacha game, they can't help but at least look at Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, maybe some other big titles like Wuthering Waves, but especially Genshin Impact, just because of the massive amount of influence that it had when it released. And as another game, as any good game development team or studio is going to do their research to know what they're kind of up against in the market, you got to look at Genshin Impact. You can't miss it. It's kind of a thing. So. And that says a lot for Genshin Impact and Hoyoverse as a whole. So while there may be a lot of hate that goes on, there's always been a lot of hate. I mean, in any kind of community, you're going to see hate and stuff, especially with like rival competitors and stuff like that. But I think overall, this says a lot for Mihoyo, now Hoyoverse as a whole. I mean, Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, who knows what they come out with next? If they come out with something next, they could
That
still
Pokemon
pop out
looking
another
game.
banger, and yeah, they could still pop out another banger, and I feel like it could still be like, I would be interested. At least I would, because I know, oh, it's Hoyoverse, it's got to be good, right?
There's a
Or if
credibility
Kuro even wanted to
established.
do another game, yeah, even if Kuro wanted to do another game, because Wuthering Waves just popped off so hard, and it's such a good game. If they're announcing a new game, I'm gonna check it out because Wuthering is great. The only reason I don't play Wuthering Waves now is not because I hate Wuthering Waves because I'm a Genshin shill or whatever. I just don't have time. That's just what it comes down to. I don't have time to play all these gotchas. It's a lot. But Wuthering Waves is awesome, and I would be checking out other games that Kuro would be making. I'm super excited about Silver Palace, and after we found out that that was a Tower of Fantasy studio, I'm a little bit more interested because that kind of once again just came out of left field. Among many others, we have things like Neverness to Everness to look forward to, Ananta, which was, I think, the Project Mugen. So there's a lot to be looking forward to, and just kind of all goes back into where did it start? And honestly, I think Genshin Impact started a lot of this growth.
Yeah, I think that you can't. I think, like you said, you can't really look too far into the gacha sphere without Genshin popping up somewhere. And once again, it can be an extremely casual game. It can be an extremely, competitive game to an extent of like, competitive with friends. It can also be, even just something extremely grindy. So I think that just shows a lot of flexibility in the game. Never mind that, Hoyo has just done exceptionally well with marketing the game as well as keeping up to date with the game. So I think in general, there's been ups, there's been downs. People have loved certain parts, hated other parts, and that's just gonna happen with any type of game. You're gonna have different, ideas that you wish, they went through differently and to an extent. But at the end of the day, you can't go against, at the end of the day, Genshin's success. Hoyo knows what they're doing, and they are doing exceptionally well at it. If you didn't make good games, you would not be at the top. You know what I mean? Like it's just a normality. So I think that that's just something to keep in mind. When we kind of are looking at this, it's just cool to see that gachas have come a long way, and I think that's really, for me, at least because I've been playing gachas for a long time, it's kind of cool to just see where gachas are, especially at least now in the East, but exceptionally now over here as well in the West. So it's definitely cool to just kind of see what would happen there. But
Yeah.
that's really just kind of the cool thing about this post.
Yeah, and I think if maybe to get away from Hoyoverse, if this seems like a glazing Hoyoverse type thing or glazing Genshin Impact, I was going to say it's really cool to see Love and Deep Space on that
Yep.
specific list. I was surprised maybe that Wuthering Waves and Zenless maybe aren't on there, but then I, think back to the numbers. Wuthering Waves and Zenless are just a
Our
lot
gacha
smaller in
revenues, yeah.
comparison. They just are, and that's nothing against them. It's just a smaller player base, so of course that their sales are going to reflect smaller as well. So maybe it's more helpful to look at percentile instead, because you have to be fair with it. Genshin is so much bigger that of course they're going to have more revenue than Wuthering Waves and Zenless because they're smaller player bases. And so to see Love and Deep Space, I don't know, that's really cool to me. I don't play Love and Deep Space, but we have a few friends in our Discord that do, and we do know that has one of the most loyal, I guess, player bases because,
Yeah,
oh
for sure.
boy, the female player base for that is got to be having a heyday with those characters.
Yeah, I think like once again it just shows like even beyond Genshin, once again I think Genshin has already broken records, pushed itself out of its boundaries so that the other games could kind of come behind it as well. The other gacha games. Like you've talked about, when I saw Crystal Palace kind of come out, we were all just like, oh my goodness, Silver Palace, or we were all just like, oh my goodness. We were kind of all going crazy. Crystal Palace, that's a soccer team. Silver Palace kind of come out, we were all just like, oh my goodness, yeah, this is crazy, this is cool. We were all watching the trailer, whatever, as soon as it released. And then right after that, I found, we were in the Discord call and I saw it was created by the Tower of Fantasy studio, and I was like, wait a minute, I like double checked and I was like, wait, it is. So even still to see a company that like had what everybody initially had as the Genshin killer was Tower of Fantasy, they didn't necessarily take that as a one and done and kind of walk away. They said, okay, we're going to take some time and perfect it. Look back at Genshin, what did they do, and try to either replicate it or do something well. And it looks like, especially with this new game, they didn't do a Genshin remake. They just did what they did, but put more time and effort into it. So that was kind of cool. And like you said, Neverness to Everness, Ananta coming out have been, we've been waiting for those for a while. So those are going to be really, really cool. Hopefully this year or next year, we're going to be seeing those. It's just really nice to see a lot more gacha games. Maybe not even like, getting a lot of hype or whatever, because Kuro before Wuthering Waves had Punishing Grey Raven, I believe. So even still, a lot of these games, sometimes that first one or two games doesn't necessarily go crazy. And I think once again, until Genshin kind of broke open the boards to see everything, these games didn't have the strength on their own to do it. But now that Genshin's kind of busted that wide open, these kind of games can kind of now walk on their own. So at least that's cool to see.
And I mean, Hoyoverse, well, Mihoyo at the time, they had Honkai Impact 3rd before their massive, Genshin Impact. So, I guess Punishing Grey Raven is to, Wuthering Waves as Honkai Impact 3rd is to Genshin. So, obviously, Wuthering Waves being bigger than Punishing Grey Raven, and Genshin Impact being bigger than Honkai Impact 3rd. So, you know, it's not like Genshin or Hoyoverse just kind of popped out with a banger and came out of nowhere. People are like, oh, this is this is the studio that made Honkai Impact Third. That's really cool, and maybe this next game, Silver Palace, is that kind of scenario for this studio, and maybe some others out there as well doing a similar thing, and it just hasn't been revealed yet, which is just exciting. Like it all, like we've said in this video, it just kind of all comes down to and revolves around Genshin Impact success and how Genshin Impact
Has
success
affected other
has
gachas.
helped the gacha category overall. Because like I've said, and like we've said in the video already, there were other gachas before Genshin Impact. Gacha gaming wasn't, this completely untouched thing, and it was a lot more under wraps. It wasn't as wide known until Genshin Impact, but it's just really interesting. I can't wait to see what all of these new gachas have in store for us, specifically Silver Palace. Can't wait to see that one, but also Ananta and Neverness to Everness. Those are my probably top three right there.
Yeah, I think that that's going to be the ones to look out for the next year or two for sure. But yeah, we're going to see some interesting things hopefully in the future, and maybe see some changes in that top 10 list of games. We'll see maybe if Mihoyo over the next few years can even jump a little bit higher where they are, where that's going to put them. But besides that, that's everything we've got to talk about in this video. Let us know what you guys think down below, specifically maybe about where, what does this mean for you? What did this post specifically, maybe it was just another post that you were like, oh, okay, that's cool. And some people kind of take it a little bit further, like us, where we're just like, we're just really kind of like, that's just cool to kind of see. What do you guys think down below? Let us know if you guys are kind of thinking about different things as well. Well, once again, thank you guys for watching the video though, and we'll see you guys in the next one.